you may have a crying moment. I'm not afraid you, but that's how is the new journey when you want to jump onto new life. That's I think it's. I don't want to scare you, but I think it's you have to have a resilience how you can tackle your situation. That's what I want to communicate it. I think it's also enjoyable to be a founder because you're trying to create a new things which doesn't exist, or you want to do better things. So I want to share in this. I think it was good to listen to Finn and Heidi, and they mentioned a couple of things. Like what they mentioned is this maker liner, which their value proposition immediately I can figure it out. The buffer reduction of 20%. This is in terms what it do is they reduce their inventory at customer level. When you reduce, because I'm a lean consultant, and I know when you less inventory, you save a lot of money. Really, big companies, we don't see that, but you save a lot of money. I think I just want to give my introduction because I'm a new, like they are implementing, the implement consulting is a big group, but I just want to give how you want to make it familiarize, aware of something. I'm an engineer as well as did an MBA. I have worked for many years, more than 15, 18 years. And this is what is my background. And I just want to give a brand association with the known familiar faces, like you might have seen Eric Ries and the Alexander Ostrowal, who is business model creator. I've been into learning sessions with, and my marketing guru, like Sid Gordon. I think that's what you see. And this is my real background, my education. I think Dimitrios has mentioned about I did my MBA from BI, and where I started. I went to San Francisco, seen many startups and how they work it, and initiated my own thinking about how can I create some value to in the society.
So
and what I want to share,
what is LSS, black belt?
That's a Lean Six Sigma black belt. That's one of the highest level in the Six Sigma group. So I did Lean Six Sigma from GE, and so I think it's in last 5 years from 2012 or before that I was thinking about a business and entrepreneurship because when you work as an engineer or something in the closed domain you face, you don't think about how the business works, what the value proposition, all these things. We only think about our perspective. That's how it is. And these are the 4 brands I'm trying to create, and I want to give how I've gone through the journey. That's what I want to share. I think Heidi Finn has shared a lot of how do you want to think about value proposition, what the customer thinks about it, and so I just want to see how I can give my experience about it. I just want to ask some of you questions before switching into further. The brand, what do you think about? Anybody can tell about what is exactly brand about in your means, any of the founder? Pardon me?
The value that we create to the customer.
Okay, anybody else?
Core values to the company.
Okay,
A message.
a message, yes. Yeah, please.
The reason that your customer chooses you.
Yeah. What about you?
How people perceive you or feel about you.
Yeah. I think these are good examples, but I can go with here. The reason why the customer chooses with you, because that's the most one. Like Heidi mentioned, when you buy a headset, what the customer thinks about it, because or a digital book, what the customer thinks about it, because it's about their time, why they want to read a book, or why they want to listen to a headset, is the most important rather than a competition or whatever it is, because you are competing to the customer's time, customer relaxation, and how the customers perceive you is most important. That's a. On the other hand, because the brand actually how do you define? It could be a term or a name which differentiate your product in the customer, because it's a competitive perspective as well as the value proposition, because there are four or five businesses starts along with you, and how do you stick out of them, because you need to, hey, I am the one, creating a different value than other three competitors. That's how you put your different name, hey, this product comes from this particular group or person. So that's how you differentiate, you create a brand to differentiate you in the marketplace, Then actually I just want to give a little background about the brand is not new. What happens is it's a 2000 year BC old concept, because they used to sell in Egypt a lot of cattle and stuff, but they don't know whom to sell the product or to whom they sold it, differentiate it. They used to put a mark, they used to use a metal, burned metal or anything else, just mark it. Because I'm coming from the the agriculture background, I know how they market, but it's a hard way to do the things. I think a lot of animal groups are now, they are opposing to do these kind of things, but that's how they started doing differentiating. Hey, this is I sold it to, or this is belongs to me, or something. I like that. That is where the identification is the one to show your brand. Before going to the back, is anyone knows what is the top brand in right now in the world?
Who the most valuable?
Red Bull.
Pardon?
Red Bull.
Alibaba. Oh,
Like biggest valuable or which criteria?
the most valuable brand,
Yeah, most valuable brand.
yeah. Apple. Alphabet.
Alphabet. Yeah, Alphabet is quite new. But
You have the picture Amazon?
yeah, I think, but it's okay. It used to be there are three competitors for the best brand in the world, but Amazon is the best brand. Their value is brand value is almost estimated to be 150 billions.
Now it's half of that.
No, it's not. I think it's a trillion something. A trillion and something.
It's just a brand value,
Oh, just the
150
brand itself.
billion.
Oh, not the market.
In the balance sheet, their brand value is 150 billions.
Okay.
I think there are three brands which are competing for the first position, and there are ways how do you value the brand, but that is not up at this stage. You need to grow. We are at the startup. So I think at the end of the day, you will be thinking when you want to create your brand, what my brand value is going to be 5 years from now or 6 years from now, end in mind is very important. These are the top 10 brands in the world. I think those 3 of them is competing for to be number 1. And I think Heidi and Finn mentioned the value proposition. When you want to buy a phone, always think about mostly you see Apple or something, because why do you buy Apple? Anybody gives a
Because it's
yeah,
expensive.
please.
The social status.
Yeah, okay.
It's
Well-
intuitive. To me, it's intuitive.
Okay, intuitive. Is anyone?
Hassle free?
Hassle
Less
free?
hassle than.
Samsung also hassle free. I don't think so. But,
You're in a long-term commitment with other Apple products like your Mac and so on. So just making a transition is too time consuming.
yes.
So it's like you're in lockdown.
You believe me or not, I used to followed a lot of Apple and Apple phones, but because of value proposition, I need 2 SIM cards. I switched to another phone. So I think it's at the end of the day, it comes to the value proposition.
For me, I use Apple because Samsung uses AMOLED technology, which is a blue screen.
Mhm.
It's bad for the eyes. It gives you a headache. They start the blue screen. It's very bluish. So I
Yeah,
want
please.
They've gained my trust.
They-
Trust over the years.
Okay, yeah. They created a value, and you trust them, or I think somebody mentioned going to the Singapore market. You just see many things. You cannot able to distinguish. My first point is to say that how do you distinguish yourself in your competition? That is the main point. Yes, please.
I think it's quite interesting No, working with design and communication, like Apple is like the only thing we ever used for like 17 years. But I think it's quite interesting the way Huawei, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, Huawei, yes.
Huawei
The Chinese telecom company, yes.
has now positioned themselves, you know, they come up very strong with the P20 Pro phone, so much so that I even bought one. It was the 3 cameras and the video and
Yes.
everything. So I feel like they've sort of done a good job at trying to compete now with Samsung for this video, photo, or assist market.
Yeah, absolutely. The another value proposition. Why I should buy your product is yes.
Just a reflection when we look at decision-making theory, like how and why people choose what they choose. When you look at a lot of the markets today are complex because there's so much to choose between. And like you said, then you pick Apple because you know it's a good brand. And if you look at some of the theory that's been made around this decision-making, there's something called mental marker. So if you are in a business where it's difficult to differentiate, you use something as brand. If it's a high-class brand, you choose it because you know the brand is good. Or it could be a country of origin. So for instance, if we talk meat in Denmark, it's difficult to see, there's so much different meat coming from different countries. So when it's Danish and vegetables, when it's Danish, then it must be good. Or you choose you choose price. Because sometimes you are in a market where you compete and you say, we have the lowest price because people have difficulties looking at there's no brand control here. So price would be the parameter. So there are these different, we call it mental markers. So look at how your competitive structure are in your market and then decide what kind of mental marker. Do you need to have a country? Do you need to have a free from? Or do you need to have like lowest price or highest price, a quality stamp? Or do you need to have an ambassador? Because that's a mental marker. Oh, she is using it and all the women can see themselves in her. Then she will be the mental marker. It's just a reflection because that's we need to have that today.
Yes, please.
I guess most of people probably see the video of Steve Jobs when he presented the first iPhone, where he hammered the stage that he shows 3 phones that are being used back then, which is HTC, BlackBerry, and all these ugly.
A lot of keystones, and yes.
And that's basically what he showcased. And then he said, "Do you realize that we can create something like?" Then he talked about MP3 players, internet, and a phone. He paused and then he
combined together.
And then he said that 3 or 4 times, and then that's the iPhone. He put it out. And I always remember back then my brother saying one thing to me. He said he's like completely against technology. He said, why can't anybody start a phone with just one button? And that's what iPhone did. They just created a phone with just one button back then. So that was a very smart way. It was so simple.
And I think a very good brand, whether we say and listen to them or they have a great value proposition. And they listen to the customers, absolutely. Because I worked in a corporate called GE, where we take very seriously net promoter scores. Where even though you have a customer, you go back to them and get their promoter. Is they recommended anyone or not? But how many customers are going to recommend new customers? That is most important, because if you don't recommend anyone, I use iPhone and use iPhone, it's better. That's where they measure their value, not just customer net promoter score. I think it's the most important factor. I think even all of these great brands, they have committed to deliver a great value to everyone. I think that's what it is. We need to take here. The success of any created brand is a long-term commitment and very planned, going forward to the customer with a marketing, good, excellent marketing, and you want to deliver to the customer, long-term way. That's what you see. When you go to the Apple and you don't say that. It is Apple says that if you bring your phone, if it is a problematic, I think never happens. But long-term commitment. is very, very important. Otherwise, nobody trusts you, Hey, you come tomorrow, especially startups. Hey, I created something, would you like to buy from me? They don't trust you because they want to see that you stand there and give that communication at the beginning. Because I'm into that shoes, when you go and knock a customer door and they say, hey, what do you buy? And I am buying this one, why should I buy from you? You should communicate that long-term association, you will be there, you create a trust. Otherwise, nobody buys from you. Yes.
There is a brand that is pretty small, like McDonald's.
Mm.
Everybody think that they are in the burger business, but what they are actually in is real estate, because they are owning very good location that they franchise afterwards. Every customer think that they are just doing burgers, but it's one of the biggest real estate owners on the planet.
Yeah.
So they are like kind of misleading the way they are running.
Yeah, that's coming back to the business model, what the business they are into it. Really, from the McDonald's point of it, they are into real estate business because they are acquiring premier places and buildings. But from customer point of view, is a cheap burger, you deliver in time, go into the driveway and you deliver it. Otherwise, you'd never go to the McDonald's because that is the customer point of view. That's what they studied about it. Yes, please.
Just building on who, why, I've been reading a lot about this company, and it's a bit interesting because they're coming from China, and they're partnering with the Chinese government to collect data that goes straight into the Big Brother program of China. And now when they're coming to Europe, America, this brand is getting questioned. What are they going to do with the data from the products and the services they're supplying here?
So there's a trust thing.
Yeah.
Again, trust comes into it, and otherwise, that's what I think the GDPR new rule is going to put strict rules on the upcoming any digital companies or anything. They are very strict and they come in a big fines and tough with the companies. Even with the startups, if you are meddling with the personal data, we have to be very strict about it and how do you handle your customer data. Otherwise, it's going to be tough in Europe. Yes.
Yeah, yesterday I was a meeting with one IT guy, and he said to me, he showed me something that was very interesting. He said, if you wear a watch with this real-time data AI thing that I developed, we can basically monitor your heartbeat, and we can see where you're at, and if you have cardiac arrest, we can know that right now. So there is some sort of confidentiality, but at the same time, if you're alone in the situation where the need happened, then you're pretty so there's a conflict between giving this data
The need and as well as security.
disclosing it and
Yes.
not disclosing it.
Yeah.
Because in this specific purpose, I found that was a very good example.
Yeah, most of the products are like that. I think you need it, but you need your security and personal data. I think a lot of things, but like Heidi mentioned, what I'm going to competing, because are you going to your health risk? Are you going competing with your personal data issue things? If the product is competing about your health issue, customer choose, I want to have this one. If you're competing about personal data, that's something And the brand especially, it's about identity, and also it gives a responsibility. Like if you go to IKEA and I mentioned to one of our colleagues, and IKEA promises if you don't use it, you bring it back, or I tell you to give it a easy usable furniture for you. I think the companies, when you create a brand, they takes a lot of responsibility. It's not an easy. Like the Burger King or McDonald's, they take a lot of responsibility because they need to deliver in time. Otherwise, I think a lot of restaurants or pizza huts, they tell that, hey, we're going to deliver this in time of 20 minutes. Otherwise, we give you free. I think they take a lot of responsibility. So when you want to go into the business and you want to create a good brand, you must be ready to take that responsibility. Otherwise, they don't trust you. This is very important. And again, coming to responsibility, when you want to buy any, apparel from Zara or a Gant or something, or you want to buy some iPhone from Apple, it signals like hey, I'm going to get a good quality brand. Same thing, your customer expects certain quality from you. You should be able to your brand should communicate that, hey, I'm going to certain these values, I'm going to deliver it to you, definitely. Then they will definitely choose from you, you know. It's not coming there, you know. Another example I will give you, if you go promo in Spotify, they don't going to annoy you with advertisements, you know. They're going to, but that's where you pay, you know. That's how it is. Otherwise, they're going to give you and every time 30 minutes, you know, marketing advertisement or something. You know, there is a value proposition there. And also, when you create a particular brand, what happens is like, you know, Harley Davidson or Apple, you create a particular space, a market competition. Nobody is like, you know, Apple have a 70% or 80% market share in Norway, for example. It's very difficult for other, you know, and it's a barrier to come to Samsung or Huawei or any other phone to come into the marketplace, because you created that kind of brand, image, quality and everything. Then, you know, you are creating a entry to the barrier, you know, a barrier to the entry. So you should think about, you know, I read about assignments or something. You should think about your 15 competitors or something. See who are competing. What could your brand create an entry barrier to your competitors? In a long, maybe for a startup it's a very difficult, but in a long-term perspective, if you are thinking to be in the business for 5-10 years, you know, and then you should think about what could I create a barrier to my competitor. This is very important. And I think how much time I have?
You have 5 minutes.
Okay, I will quickly go through. I think I just want to give building blocks, how you can think about those building blocks, how you want to imagine and create. First thing is a presence. Am I aware in the marketplace, because you're a startup? You know, am I aware? And the next thing is, what is my offering? What I'm going to relevance? Like somebody said, you know, they are going to create a system where you sustainable recycling systems. To customer, what I'm going to aware, what is the relevance I'm going to create, and is it a reliable service I'm going to deliver it to them. And if anyone is delivering the particular thing, how can I show I'm stick out of the in the marketplace, how I do that. Then, you know, you create you know, the relationship with the customer. That's how you want to. This is an example of Harley Davidson. You know, you see the group of people who are going in Harley Davidson. They don't go for any other bike. You know, they are associated so much. You know, I think same like Apple brand. If they are associated with, they don't switch. It's very difficult. They had a relationship with them. You know, I think it's a very similar to that model, dynamics, but still, this is what is actually the 4 steps. How do you want to identify yourself and what meaning you create to the customer to deliver your value to the customer, value proposition, and then, you know, the what are actually the customers feeling about you, and how they judge you. Like Apple, I will take an example, but you know, how the customer is responding and what kind of relationship you're going to build. I think these are the long term you should think about. Brand building is from the day one you want to think about to create your service or product. You should create that kind of image in the market and stand out. This is where I'm delivering these values. It's a simple 4-step process, but I will just want to take.
What means the salience?
Salience is the meaning is an identity. How do you identify yourself? What is your identity? Okay. By looking at your brand, they should tell. Apple has an identity for the, you know, the computers or iPhone. You know, for example, I will take. You know, this is. I think I will leave the presentation with the. You can go through, but it's about when somebody thinks about McDonald's. It's an identity of buying some food, you know, burger or something. You know, what is when you're hungry, you go to McDonald's, you know, or something. You know, when you say yes, please.
When I see like brand resonance, one group that is very good in making think of their brand is Finn.no, because for example, you have that on your phone, you have the app. Every time you receive something, you have this jingle that comes in, and that even not checking your phone, you already know that's from Finn.
Exactly. So, for example, if you think about Spotify, what you think, what it feels like you, that's an identity. Spotify got an identity of the music, delivering to the music. When somebody hears about you, they should tell about it. Simple example, even you talk about NSB, what do you think? You're taking a train. You're going to a destination to one destination. Same thing. I think when you talk about your company or brand and your company, they should think about something delivery, something service you're protecting, and that's what it is about. And it's I think these are the 6 steps. You can just after using the building blocks, you can just go through these. It's I think how do you want to fulfill the customer needs? What kind of image you are going to create with the customer, as well as how the customer is going to judge you, and what they are going to feel at the end of using your product. These are the things you should consider when you create your brand. I just want to take an example, like when you think about Coca-Cola, what comes into your mind? Just quickly, can someone tell?
Christmas. Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas. Yeah.
This had this old song, the logo song.
Yeah. Yeah, freshness. Somebody say. Calories. Yeah.
The thing like
Zero Coke. And anybody else?
Happiness.
Summertime.
Summertime. American. Exactly.
And it's fun for it. Zero Coke is for guys and like Coca-Cola Light is for women. This is like
Yeah, you see, you're getting all sort of things which are really real, and Coca-Cola did the same survey, and how they did it. You see, they are identifying the happiness and American values, what you say, and your freshness, somebody mentioned. It is they've taken out from real, what the customer branding about it, and they are talking about tasty performance because it tastes good. They created uniqueness, taste, and you mentioned a more image about Christmas, and they feel happiness, and the judgment is like it's a good product. They trust superiority, and they at the end they just the resonance, the relationship is consumer involvement, community, and hey, can we get some Cokes for us? Something like that. They talk about. So these are the when you're a startup, but think about in this line. I think you are creating a brand, a good brand. Think always exercise on these lines. And to do this exercise, actually, I took some of the few points, which are it should be memorable, criteria is meaningful, and likability, and transferability, and adaptability, and protectability. I think what is these means? It could be easy, it should give a meaning, meaningful, and it could be memorable. It should be likable, and why Apple chose, even though they are into computers. It is an easy to use it, likable, and they could able to. I think the toughest thing you want to is it any transferability? If anybody uses Apple in a different language, they communicate the same stuff. It's a fruit or sweet, and anybody, it's nice to eat it. They communicate easily. I think that's what it is. When you go to a different locality and language, it does not make different meaning. That's what is the transferability. Your company name should not mean something else when they go to the Brazil. Otherwise, what is this? A good example I tell you is the company called Yara. Is anyone heard about it? Yara, fertilizer company in Norway, and they're entering into the Indian market. And Yara meaning in India in Hindi is a friend. It become a friendly market to the farmers in India, and it's easy for them to go there. And think about when you go to international or global, think about what your brand meaning about, your company name meaning about it, because that makes a lot of difference when you want to go international.
A small comment about that.
Yes.
The story with AI is quite different in India. They failed to enter into India 3 times. They failed to
Yeah.
enter into India for 3 times.
Yes.
and they acquired one of the fertilizer companies, the biggest in India.
Yes.
That's how they entered into India. That happened recent times in 2015 or 2016.
Yes.
Until then, there is no presence of ARI in India.
Absolutely. I think this is all comes into the business and mergers and acquisitions. How they want to find a right partner or something. You know, somebody, Heidi and Phil mentioned about partnership. How do you want to make it? Want to defend the boat?
The brand was not accepted. No, the brand was not accepted. That's the reason why it has been.
No, I think I worked at Yara for 5 years, so they have had offices in India. They got charged with corruption in India, trying to get into the market because it was very difficult for that. But they have had offices there selling with the people, so, and they have acquired to go in now, but they also had difficulties going into the market due to corruption and buying in with a government official to try to enter the market.
Yeah, I think another example is Telenor was in India and they rejected and they came out of the Indian business. You know.
That's also different.
That's another.
They are involved in a scam.
Yeah, many things comes into the business. You know, it's not only just you know the brand, but how do you communicate into the people, and at the end of the day, it comes into the what value you are bringing onto the table is important. Why should I buy your product rather than others' product which is exist in the market? Most of the startups with the similar ideas, how do you compete with the other? This is the biggest challenge. Even I face it. Biggest challenge is how do you compete it? If you cannot win it, you know, I think coming back to the Facebook got a lot of competitors in the beginning. One page called, I don't know when they started, is called you know, MyPage or something, and you know their customer needs to switch from MyPage to Facebook. It's a difficult what value. It's these big companies every day struggle to keep your value proposition and trust. If they lose the trust, you immediately switch. You close your, you know. Yes, please.
But Facebook had so much traction because initially that was designed for university, and within a year they had so many universities that joined them right away. So the traction went viral right away. There was a big end user market.
No, absolutely. Same with the YouTube. YouTube doesn't have any videos in the beginning, and you know, and Google. You know, these are all started very humbly. It doesn't have any traction in the beginning, but the same with the startups. You know, getting one customer is very, very important than getting, you know, anything else for a startup. I think about it, and the brand is very important when it comes to that. This is Nike's brand proposition, how they calculated it. You can do this exercise for your startup, like, you know, how memorable is my name, brand name. You can give some score for it, and you know how my logo, how come memorable, and what meaning it sends to the customer. Is it likable logo or meaning name? So these are the exercise they can go through and do. Slogans, if they have a slogan, and if you are doing any packing to your product or your message you're sending, what kind of message I'm going to send. It gives a, you know, like an exercise for you to think about how can I create my, you know, nowadays getting an URL itself is a tough, because you spend nights and days, yeah, can I get this name URL? It's very tough. But still on top of that, think about your value